Imagine that in a day like any other, while in class, you're transported to a fantasy video game and can't go back to reality. And on top of that, you get the worst ability of your entire class. You would have to be very unlucky, because this is Arifureta, from Commonplace to World's Strongest. I present to you Hajime, a high school student that while in class was magically sent along with his classmates and teacher to a world that is like a fantasy video game by the god of that world, so that they would help in a war against demons because the human race is in danger of extinction. Yeah, this is very strange. They are told that in order to fight, they would have to level up, and everyone was granted a unique ability. Basically, this world is like an RPG, and if it wasn't bad enough to be swallowed by some weird light and be taken to a world like this, our protagonist gets the worst ability of all, which is to transmute matter. Okay, now these kids have to enter 100-story underground maze so that they can hunt monsters, level up and all that stuff. You know, the typical. But they have to be careful, because the lower they go down the floors, the stronger the monsters that live there, which really reminds me of Sword Art Online. Anyways, while they are going through the labyrinth, having already leveled up and attained equipment, they are attacked by a monster. Hajime, like the good guy he is, goes to protect his classmates. What a guy. But one of his classmates betray him, and with an attack, he destroys the bridge they were standing on, and Hajime falls to the void. Seriously, this protagonist can't be this unlucky. And what's more, even though he survived, he fell to the lower floors of the maze, where he finds even stronger creatures that were busy killing each other until one of them attacked Hajime. He tries to flee, but because he's so weak, he's unable to, and ends up losing an arm. From here on out, his luck will change a bit, because he was right below a large mana crystal that was dripping, and it healed his wounds. Desperate to survive, he eats a crazy wolf, and he starts to feel bad, since its flesh wasn't edible at all. After being in pain for a while, and thanks to the mana that fell from the ceiling, he survives, and his hair turns white. He also obtains the abilities of the monster he ate, such as lightning and other physical capabilities. And so, he begins eating the monsters, and levels up really quickly while obtaining new abilities. Well done, protagonist. Something good finally happened to you. Taking advantage of the magic water that healed wounds and his abilities, he reaches a point where he gets to a really high level and creates a pistol, becoming even stronger now. And while he was advancing, he comes across a large door. Inside, there was a vampire who was imprisoned by her people. And yes, she's the stereotypical 5,000-year-old lolly. You know how these things are. He saves her because he knows what betrayal feels like. And we learn that she was a princess and the last of her race, which was exterminated many years ago. Hajime names her Yue, and they fall in love? I guess. So, the protagonist wants to take her with him to the real world to start a new life. They continue walking down the maze, they obtain new weapons, he gets stronger, and all that. And when they reach the end of the labyrinth, they encounter some kind of dragon with multiple heads that destroys Hajime, who you must remember is missing an arm and now an eye. But when he was about to die, he gets up, and with Yue's help, they kill it. After resting in the room of the maze's creator, Oscar, they come across his corpse, out of which his spirit comes out. And since Nagumo made it to the end, he grants him his abilities and reveals the truth about this world. And you might be wondering, what is the truth? Well, I'll tell you. Turns out that the war was actually started by the gods for their own amusement. And when a group of people found out about it, they formed a sort of team, of which Oscar was a member, with the objective of ending the war. After realizing they knew, the gods decided to put the entire world against those people, leaving only a few survivors who created different labyrinths, so that the one who reaches the end would receive all their wisdoms and abilities in order to fight the battle they couldn't win. With this information, we learned that there's more than one maze, and that at the end of each one, you are given great powers and abilities. But Hajime cares little about the war, and only wants to go back home with his 300-year-old girlfriend who looks like she's 12, who also doesn't care about what happens to this world. So they loot Oscar's belongings, and taking advantage of everything he learned, our protagonist creates a couple of weapons and other tools, like an arm and a crystal eye. After a completely unnecessary scene of them bathing, they are teleported to the surface, where of course, we are introduced to a furry. Yes, a furry. A half bunny girl named Shia, who asks Hajime to protect her town, which is under attack by some monsters. And since Hajime is still a great guy, he builds a motorcycle and goes to help the bunnies, because he's that cool. After arriving in the town, he sees that its inhabitants are too peaceful and dislike fighting, and after a few shows of manliness by the protagonist, the people understand that they have to train and fight to defend themselves. Yeah, really, that's it. After arriving at the new maze, now also accompanied by Shia, Hajime completes it quickly, and after a weird speech, someone calls Milady, gives the protagonist another ancient ability. Remember that the first one was basically creating objects, and now this one is for controlling gravity. She also warns Hajime that he will have to kill the gods, and after looting for a while, Milady kicks them out to the surface. After resting in a town, a pretty important guy asks him to look for a nobleman that got lost because the rescue team that he sent never came back, and they need someone strong. Hajime accepts due to convenience. He gets on his motorbike with the other two girls and they head out. In the middle of the way, they stop again to rest for a while, where he coincidentally meets his former teacher called Aiko, alongside some classmates who accompanied him to rescue the nobleman, who was being chased by a gigantic dragon. After Hajime literally defeats it by shoving a stick up its ass, the dragon called Tio goes back to her human form. And yes, you guessed it, it's another girl obsessed with the protagonist, and she will accompany him from here on out. Tio tells us that while she slept, a guy took advantage of this and hypnotized her so that she would kill the nobleman in question. And we learn that not only did he hypnotize her, but also formed an entire army of monsters with the order of killing Aiko. But luckily, Hajime and his girlfriends defeat the whole army and discover that the guy that was causing so much trouble was Shimuzu, one of his classmates that Hajime hated for a long while. He tells him that a demon offered him great power in exchange for killing his teacher Aiko, because apparently she's pretty relevant for this world. No idea, Hajime really doesn't give a shit and just shoots Shimuzu. After taking care of that problem, they bring the nobleman to the important guy from before, who was the leader of the guild. While they're trying to have a proper rest, everything goes south again, and they end up saving a little girl called Miu, who was about to be sold. Let's say that the protagonist adopts her as his daughter, and they all go to another town to give a letter from the guildmaster to another leader. Because there were more of Hajime's classmates in this town, one of them appears and asks for his help, since his classmates entered the maze, and a demon was beating the shit out of them, and he was the only one who escaped. As we all know, Hajime is a great guy, and goes to help them, and turns out the demon in question was a woman that summoned bugs. But since the protagonist was already so strong, this was no challenge for him, and that's how another girl joins the team. Nah, just kidding, Hajime shoots her, dead. Now that his classmates see how strong he is, they are amazed, and the girl he tried to save at the beginning felt guilty for his death because she was secretly in love with him. So she says sorry, and also confesses her love, something that Hajime doesn't care for, since he was already in love with Yue. And despite that, his classmate, called Kaori, joined them, and so Hajime and his 4 companions continue looking for labyrinths. While they were on the way to Miu's hometown to bring her back to her mother, they come across a guy lying on the sand who was being attacked by sand snakes during a sandstorm. That's a lot of sand. After saving him and helping his town, since they were being contaminated by the water, they go to a volcano, which is they would have to extract minerals to not have that problem again. And they discover that this volcano is one of the mazes, so they take this chance to complete it. But once they defeat the monster at the end, out of nowhere, they are hit by some kind of lightning, which leaves Hajime badly wounded. And this is where Fried shows up. Remember that a while ago, Hajime killed a demon to save his classmates? Well, this guy is from the same race, but he's stronger, since he also has the power of the ancient warriors like Hajime, and he wants to kill him, because he knows he's very dangerous. After fighting against dragons, Fried causes the volcano to erupt, to finish off Hajime and the girls. But he sends Tio, the dragon woman, with Miu and Kaori to the little girl's town. After defeating Fried with a crazy attack, Hajime, Shia, and Yue go inside the lair of this labyrinth's creator. To get away from the lava, they take a submarine, and just like that, they leave. They arrive in Miu's town, where they meet her mother and go to another maze, because luckily, Hajime does not waste any time. Very weird things are happening in this new labyrinth. For starters, as soon as they enter, the group splits up. Then, Kaori keeps flirting with Hajime because they're all alone. They control her body to kill Hajime, and he rejects her because he's loyal to the lolly. I don't know, just a bunch of weird things. After completing it and obtaining another amulet that they give you when you complete a maze, they all reunite and leave together, save for the little girl, because they left her in her town with her mom. On the way, they meet the princess of the kingdom where his classmates and teacher were located, who tells him that the teacher was kidnapped and imprisoned by the king's men. He was brainwashed, and they took Aiko because she knew this war was caused by the gods, since Hajime told her and she was about to tell everyone else. So Hajime goes and rescues her, but Fried shows up once again, this time with an army. They attack the kingdom alongside an envoy from the gods sent to kill Hajime because, as we already know, he was the one who completed all the mazes, knows a lot of stuff, and so on. The thing is, Hajime fights this winged woman with huge swords, and they do battle until her swords shatter, and Hajime pierces her stomach with a cannonball. Thankfully, this battle was pretty chill. After defeating a couple of demons and obtaining a ring that was in the church of the kingdom, Freed escapes once again. Since Hajime's classmates were there and they find out that the kingdom is being attacked, they go to support the king and his men, who you must remember were all being controlled, and the soldiers betray and attack everyone. Karma is so good. But stop right there, because one of the students is not being attacked. Her name is Eri, and she was the typical quiet kid. But in reality, she's a traitorous snake, because she's the one that's controlling the whole kingdom, and even used the corpse of a demon Hajike killed to save them, and formed an alliance with that race. All of this while being helped by Daisuke, another classmate who, to nobody's surprise, is the one that destroyed the bridge, causing Hajime to fall into the void. There are so many traitors in this class. Good thing they were all normal kids in the beginning. But Eri is not only a traitor, but she's also insane because she did all of this to hook up with the popular guy of her class. And she's not the only one, since Daisuke is helping her to get with Kaori. See how it all fits together? Daisuke wanted to kill Hajime only because Kaori liked him. How terrible. Kaori arrives with the princess to help, but that Daisuke bastard kills her, because he's in love, I guess. And that's when Hajime arrives, and he beats him over and over again, until he finally kills him. Eri runs away with Freed, who came to fight, lost again, and escaped once more. They take Kaori, who was dying, and they save her, but she asks them to transfer her soul to the body of the girl that was sent by the gods to kill Hajime with the wish of being stronger. And the season ends with Hajime going on a journey to another labyrinth with his group and chicks, and also his classmates.